Before he was the king of rock and roll, before the glittering jumpsuits and screaming crowds, Elvis Presley was just a 10-year-old boy, barefoot, trembling, standing on a wobbly wooden chair at a county fair. 300 strangers stared up at him. His hands shook so badly he could barely hold the microphone. And in that moment, he had to choose, sing or run. It was October 3rd, 1945. The Mississippi-Alabama Fair and Dairy Show, the biggest event in Lee County. For most folks, it was fun. For Elvis and his mama Gladys, it was everything. They couldn't afford the rides or the prizes. They'd walked 3 miles from East Tupelo. Gladys had entered him in the Children's Day contest. Elvis Presley, age 10, song Old Shep. He begged her not to. "Mama, I ain't got no talent." But she just smiled. "You sing, baby. You sing all the time." That morning, Elvis woke up without a voice. Fear had stolen it. Gladys made him gargle salt water, fed him honey straight from the jar, and whispered, "Maybe God's just testing how bad you want it." But Elvis didn't want fame. He just wanted to make his mama proud. And that difference between wanting glory and wanting love was everything that made him who he was. When they reached the fairgrounds, he saw the others. Kids in clean clothes, shiny shoes, real instruments. He looked down at his too small shirt and threadbare pants. "I can't do this, Mama." "Yes, you can," she said softly. "They're not you." One by one, the other children performed, perfect, practiced, polished. Then came the announcer's voice. "Next up, from East Tupelo, Elvis Presley." Elvis froze. The crowd murmured. Someone laughed. His heart pounded so loud it drowned the noise around him. And then he saw her, his mama. Not praying now, just watching him? With love so fierce it silenced every fear. He kicked off his shoes, and they pinched anyway, dragged a chair across the stage, climbed on top, and for the first time stood tall enough for the microphone. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and began to sing. "When I was a lad and old Shep was a pup." The fairgrounds went still. Not the polite kind of quiet, the kind that happens when people realize they're witnessing something pure. His voice wasn't powerful. It was honest. Every note carried something deeper: loss, love, hope. He wasn't just singing about a dog. He was singing about life. About his twin brother Jesse, who never got to live. About hunger and heartbreak, and a boy learning what pain feels like. Somewhere in that second verse, the frightened child vanished, and in his place stood the first glimpse of Elvis Presley. Not the superstar, but the storyteller. When the song ended, the last note hung in the autumn air. Then came the applause. Hesitant at first, then real. He didn't win first place. He won second. $5 and a paper certificate. But that day he won something far more valuable. The belief that his voice could touch hearts. As they walked home barefoot down the dusty road, Elvis held his mama's hand and whispered, "Mama, can we buy a guitar?" She smiled. "Someday, baby." Years later, he'd say that was the moment everything began. Every stage he ever stood on, Vegas, Hollywood, Graceland, had an invisible chair on it. And somewhere inside, that barefoot boy was still standing tall, singing Old Shep to a crowd that finally listened. Before the fame, before the money, before the legend, there was just a little boy, barefoot on a chair, discovering that music could turn pain into something beautiful. And that's the real story. The day Elvis Presley found his voice.